Is the Druzhina worth your gold in Tides of Torment? Let's take a good hard look at the Druzhina, who comes off as a man of the world and out there to valiantly plug away against the Chaos Tides. Let's look at what makes this lord special and different and why you might want one or not. Recruited for 900 gold and 225 upkeep, or a small discount on the usual. On foot he comes at 4,268 health on Ultra scale. Armor of 65 is edging into the low side for lords, with missile resistance the standard 15%. Leadership 70, speed 34, charge speed 41 are respectable numbers. Melee attack starts at 50, very mid. Attack interval 4 seconds as standard. Splash target size medium, so winged lancers on down, and max target damage by splash is 4. Melee defense 40 is low as these things go. Weapon strength of 445 is not. Split base 110 and armor piercing 335, which should be the envy of any general of the Empire prior to getting on a Griffin. Charge bonus is 30, and mass is 800. There is a ranged weapon. Ammunition 25, range 180. Our missile strength of 500 is beefy. Each hit inflicts base 240 and armor piercing 160, with a bonus versus large of 100 that applies to damage only. Projectile is arrow trajectory, 1 projectile per shot. Reload time of 8 seconds isn't at all bad. Total accuracy is usually 20. Here, it is 115. Calibration distance of 80 means that it will begin to get less accurate past 80 meters up to its maximum range, but total accuracy has a vote for how inaccuracy is defined. Calibration area of 0.2 meters is maybe the lowest I've ever seen. This is the guy who can hit an eye at 80 meters and asks for which eye you prefer. At 150, he might settle for anywhere on the forehead. There is a medium penetration cap and a max targets pinned after the first of 5, which tracks with an Empire Engineer's handgun penetration and similar gunpowder offerings. The Druzhina has by our blood and has woodsman, so phases through trees. The soul mount is the Warhorse. Upkeep rises to 275, health to 4,676, armor to 95, speed 78, charge speed 108, charge bonus 45, mass 1500. Utterly nothing else has changed stat-wise, but he gains fire whilst moving on the steed, and that's very, very handy. The blue and red lines do not appear distinct from the Boyars, so I'll move things along to the important and notable stuff. Of these, he can select Restock for the ability of the name at rank 2, which is kind of petty, gotta say. Brass Lunged at rank 4 trades 1 pip for 25% larger leadership aura. At rank 7, Ursun's Protection slaps on 10% more missile resistance. Thanks, Ursun. For the main yellow combat line, hard to hit, I resent they reused this name because it's a very common skill. Grants plus 5 melee defense for 1 pip here. At 2 pips, Deadeye grants ammunition plus 30% and reload time reduction plus 15%. 2 pips of full plate armor gives armor plus 15, a valid option at this middling armor level. Scarred Veteran grants the usual plus 15% hit points at 2. Deadly Blade grants plus 12 melee attack at 2. The Midway pip grants Cursed Frontier, 35-meter bubble in which self and allies with missile weapons do plus 10% damage, and reload skill plus 10, which I think is now equivalent to reload time reduction. Wound Maker grants plus 20% weapon strength at 2. Blade Master gives plus 12 melee attack again at 2. Indomitable gives plus 12 leadership at 2. Locked and Loaded gives at 2 plus 15% speed and plus 12% ammunition. And finally, we get Heroic Killing Blow. No biggie, just plus 50% melee damage for 25 seconds. 9-second cooldown, no use limit. Die, Chaos, die. At rank 10, you can put 1 pip into 3 mutually exclusive skills. Servant of the Tsar gives diplomatic relations plus 10 to all Kislev factions, and plus 15% spell resistance for the Lord's army. Veneration of the Bear offers plus 15% unit experience when fighting anything Chaos, and gives Ursun's Roar only 9 seconds duration 35-meter bubble affecting self and allies, leadership +8, and +36% charge bonus, 60-second cooldown. Hey, at the head of a bunch of winged lancers, and this could be pretty nice, to say nothing of making the Lord himself hit even harder. Speaks to the Forest gives himself Vanguard deployment, and grants regeneration to Hag Witch heroes, so that's a big time interaction if you spam those heroes into the fray. At rank 12, you can begin a personal line that grants Tal's Judgment, plus 10% missile strength generally, and the ability of the same name, 200 range per cast magic missiles, 2 missiles each, doing 435 damage, 34% armor piercing, and is flaming, and explosion damage 95, 68% of which is armor piercing. And this part is magical. It says damage radius 3 meters, explosion radius 1 meter. Well, get what you can out of it. Also, bonus versus large 75 per projectile, so prioritize big ones. 3 uses, 90-second cooldown. Ambusher skill gives reload time reduction 10% for horse archers and Akshina ambushers, and provides them with falcon-fleshed ammo, which makes them anti-infantry. Man of the Land gives campaign line of sight plus 25%, replenishment plus 5% for own army, and ambush success chance plus 10% for that army. I like how they're specific, so you don't think he raises it for someone else's army. Man of the People, wow, run for office guy, gives leadership plus 10 to Khazar Kislev warrior and Kosovite dervish units, and minus 10% upkeep for the same. Popular dude. Tal's Fury offers an additional use of Tal's Judgment and reduces cooldown by 10%. So how do we use the Druzhina? It's more like, how do we keep one alive? As you get up the tree, even though there are obviously red and blue line skills that are very juicy and can exploit the synergies with missile and common man melee units, he turns from an armor-piercing scrapper to an offensive juggernaut. The problem is he's not that tough compared. He doesn't really raise melee defense except for that one pip at the start, and is clearly meant to use super accurate ranged fire for a lot of what he gives you. So, take huge advantage of the fire whilst moving as you get going. The problem with Restock is that you can't use it on yourself. Well, you're going to have to accept he's a limited time only ranged attacker and is good at it, so make the shots count. In the Ties of Torment era, this hero absolutely begs for judicious selection of items to give him better protection and enhancing his ranged attacks. If you can use the right monsters and heroes to help shore up the defense somehow, he can do extra well. Having said that, just having him as a scrappy, armor-gouging lord who bails out his troops against specific problems, relying on them to chew up the enemy's raw numbers, you might be able to pull out come-from-behind wins that might otherwise elude you. One thing to note is that the combat line area effect missile buff is 35 meters still, not 55 meters as certain competing products have been expanded to. No doubt because Horror Killing Blow is stupidly awesome, and even more so on an armor-piercing lord, and Ursun's Roar has some specific but very strong uses. That makes this quite a hybrid lord. Using him will require an understanding of the units he's buffing, like the ambushers, but making Little Grom fire 10% faster and hit 10% harder is not wasted. That is, unlike the personal line buffs, that aura only cares whether you're a friendly unit and you have a missile weapon. Nothing else. Take care, and have fun reducing an enemy's suit of fancy armor to a pile of junk.